adequately understimulated. You don't want to be overstimulated.
Oh, I think
so you're going to be understimulated.
I think we need to put that on a t-shirt.
I'm adequately understimulated. I can proceed.
I'm Ash.
And I'm Callie.
And welcome to The Recovery Feed. This is a podcast about eating disorder recovery, told by people who've lived it. On this show, we talk about the messy and multi-layered reality of eating disorders, what recovery actually looks like, and throw in some not-so-gentle needling of diet and wellness culture for good measure. Come for the lived experience and the hot takes. Stay for the side quests. This podcast is recorded on the lands of the Gadigal and Gubbi Gubbi people.
I have put my seatbelt on. I'm ready to go.
Well, Callie, I have just one question for you.
I wanna be on top. I wanna be on
top. We're doing it.
We're doing it.
Wanna be on top.
That theme song will forever live in my head, I will tell you. So in case you do not know, except you've clicked on the title, so you absolutely do know, this episode is going to be deep diving into the depths of the behemoth that is America's Next Top Model.
Ash could totally submit like a fucking thesis on this at this point.
We're going to be talking about the contradictions of the portrayal of beauty standards, its impact on society as a whole, and the way it handled eating disorders, plus like so much more. And oh my God, it is such a huge episode. So let's not waste any time. Callie, tell me, what is your relationship to America's Next Top Model?
So I was saying to Ash before, like I've honestly, like I've watched, I was going to say like I've never really watched it. I have watched it, but I've not really properly watched it. Like I've watched maybe like an episode here and there. I mean, I feel like when we were growing up, there's always been like a pull towards shows that are like model-y. Like, do you remember, like I'm thinking of like
Project
Girlfriend
Runway
magazine or like Dolly magazine and like how they had their model search and all that jazz.
Which was kind of similar to like 17 magazine in Australia, if any American listeners. Or like Clio. Clio
like
was more adult.
Cosmopolitan?
But, those were a bit more adult as well.
I mean, which makes it more fucked up, to be honest, because if you think of like Dolly model search, like these are literal teenagers. But anyway,
oh, don't even get me started. I will get there.
Yeah, and I think I always had a pull towards those things of like, because they were the beauty standard or they were the like someone to look at and like I want their clothes and I want this and I want that. So whilst I've never fully, I think, gotten into watching America's Next Top Model, and I can't even really tell you why I never got into watching it because it seems like something I would watch, or not now, but like back then, to be clear. Yeah, like I'm very intrigued. I know the undertones, obviously. And
so after this, I'm hoping that you'll never have to watch America's Next Top Model because I'm going to tell you everything. Well, not everything.
I don't think I'd choose to, right? I might watch like the documentary that came out, but maybe that's it. Maybe I won't even. I probably wouldn't actually.
All right, I've got thoughts on the documentary and the Netflix one, and I'll get into all of that in a minute.
Okay.
But this is my Roman Empire.
Oh, it is, yeah. You've been like, you know how on episodes I always talk about, like if someone wants to talk about a potato for hours, I'd be so stoked to listen if they're passionate about it. This is like Ash's potato. Yeah,
so I'm passionate in many ways, okay? So the amount of research that I've done for this episode is quite honestly shameful. It's shameful.
It's not shameful. You hyper-fixated, you locked in, you got interested, and now here we are. And we have a whole thesis. Like, it needs to be submitted somewhere. I don't know where, somewhere.
This is it. This is my submission, okay? It's an honorary doctorate at this point. So right off the bat, this is going to be a minimum 2-parter. Sorry, I tried to cut it down. It's probably going to be 3. We'll see how we go. But once I started, I just could not stop. Hence why I've reschedule this recording like 3 times.
And can I ask Ash, like, because I guess I'm like like tying this back into the relativity of today.
Mm-hmm.
And can I ask, and obviously this theme, like I know you'll cover this completely, but do you feel after doing all this research on it, do you feel like the current climate we're in, we're sort of like maybe reliving some of it? Or like, are we seeing things come back around or themes come back around or things that you've noticed come back around?
Yes. Short
Okay,
answer, yes.
cool.
Okay.
All
And
right.
we
So
will
let's dive in
discuss,
then.
we will discuss all of this at length.
Okay, cool.
So it is also not lost on me that the last two-parter that we did was another one of my hyperfixations, which was the Minnesota starvation study.
Mhm.
Go check that out if you haven't listened to that.
Very interesting.
It's very early on in the pod. I don't want to say that I did more research on this one, but I did. Again, shameful. I know. But-
Hey, stop with that language.
If you would like to keep enabling my hyperfixations and deep dives, and Callie's as well, because the polls on the Heated Rivalry episode are not going
I'm
in
winning.
my favor. So that will probably happen. But I just want to give a quick reminder to subscribe to our podcast if you've not done so already. You can follow us on socials. We're on Instagram and TikTok now. Look at me being dragged and kicking and screaming into the millennial Gen Z-verse.
You too old.
I know. You can watch us now. Hello, internet. Hi. On YouTube. If you
See me
prefer.
like sucking on my smoothie. Like me sitting here being like,
Well, it is the tea. It's just smoothie tea. That sounds disgusting. Anyway.
yeah, gross. But anyway, I don't like tea, so
but if you would like
tea
to-
sounds worse.
If you would prefer to watch us and see us in all of our weird facial expressions and shocked faces as you listen, you can do that. All the links are in the description below, along with our link to Buy Me a Coffee, which is the best way that you can support the podcast. We also have some merch ideas in the pipeline, so stay tuned for that. It'll be super exciting.
So excited for it.
And lastly, if you want to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you will have our undying love and affection forever and always. Thank you so much.
Do it or else. I'm joking. I don't know what the or else is, but you know, do it.
Or don't. It's fine. It's fine. Just keep listening.
It's not fine.
Or
I'll
don't
be
keep
hurt.
listening.
It's fine. No. Anyway, sorry. Yes.
Now, I am, as you probably have guessed, self-confessed child of the ANTM era. And I was an absolute obsessive of the show. My sister as well. We were talking about this last night when I saw her. Up until about cycle 9, and it's cycles, not seasons, which is very important for anyone in the ANTM universe.
Okay. I was going to say, okay, we'll come back to that, right? Table.
But that's where it all kind of went off the deep end for me a little bit. It kind of got just a bit too far-fetched. But those first 9 cycles, I pretty much know from the inside out.
Do you feel like that's why I didn't get into it? Because I have 3 brothers and
Probably.
Yeah, like I never really had anyone to sit down and be like, oh, like this sort of stuff with. Maybe?
Also, it was only on like Foxtel cable.
Oh, I never had Foxtel growing up. Okay.
That's
We're
why.
in the country, so.
So I think that's
middle of
also,
nowhere.
that is I think also where the divide might be as well.
Yeah,
obviously
okay.
now all of the episodes are sort of up in the ether and everyone's sort of watching them now with a new perspective, all of which we'll get into. But
Okay, cool.
I watched it when I was younger. I became so obsessed with it. I practiced my smize in the mirror, like all of us did.
I have a question already.
What is the smize?
No. I was going to ask how old you were. Because I think that's like really helpful to know. Because like how like young are we talking?
Yeah, so it first started in 2003. That was when it first debuted. So I was...
How old was I in 2003?
I was year 6.
I was year 8. No.
Yeah.
Was I year 8 or year 7? How old are you?
I'm 34 now. But
yeah, okay, so I was
But
year
I was also younger for my year. So everyone else would have been like... Yeah. Everyone would have been like year 6, year 7 for anyone our age. So around that time, like the very peak of your developing brains, developing self-esteem, and the signs were all there, weren't they?
Yeah. I just feel like that's helpful context. Like, who were they targeting here? You know what I mean? Like,
and that is exactly what we're going to talk about. They knew exactly who they were targeting.
yeah,
So,
okay.
but I was obsessed. My friends were obsessed. We did all of we did our own sort of photo shoots. We did this is what you did before the internet, is that we would all go
you
over
went
to
to your
each
friends'
other's
houses
houses.
and yeah.
We did all of these photo shoots, right? And please feel free to mock me absolutely mercilessly as I say the next part. It is so cringe to say. As a teenager, keyword, I also dipped my toe into the modeling industry. I was overall quite rubbish at it, really. So please feel free to roast me.
No. Yeah, sorry, continue, but I have thoughts on that too. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was like actual teens. Like I was 14, 15 years
Mm.
old when I started, which is essentially when a lot of the peak modeling agencies start to enter you into the industry, especially in Australia. The younger you are, the better, which is so gross.
So weird.
Looking back on it, it is wild how extremely grown up environment I was in.
Yeah.
But it was very much the norm. But I wasn't in there for very long. I only did like a handful of shoots, like a teensy bit of runway, but then I like got hips and grew up and I was no longer the right size, quote unquote, for
a child.
That exactly. So thank goodness. But I would be lying if I didn't say that America's and Australia's Next Top Model played a huge part in getting me into that scene, the pressure to be like that waif thin, the cutthroat nature of the industry.
How did you enter that scene? Like, how did you do
I
that?
wanted,
like, how did you?
I wanted America's Next Top Model told me that. Oh,
so like you signed yourself up somewhere, or like
I went with my mum.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And I did it. I was just like, I went to a few agencies and they.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
God.
Then,
okay.
I know it's wild. But I would be lying if also that didn't impact me, even for like the short amount of time that I was in there. And again, I wouldn't. It's not too far of a stretch to say that didn't contribute to my eating disorder because
I would say it 100% contributed to your eating, like a part of.
I was totally conditioned.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So before we get into all of this, the trigger warning of all trigger warnings.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything you can think of. Okay. So we're going to be talking about.
Please protect yourselves.
Yes. This episode will be talking about, obviously, eating disorders, the reality TV portrayal of eating disorders, anti-fatness, weight stigma, body shaming, violating bodily autonomy. Not in this episode, but the next one, there will be a brief talk about sexual assault and harassment, some talks of racism, anti-blackness, and pretty much everything you can think of, okay? So if you're not in a position to listen to this, please protect your peace and switch off. I'll do my best to give specific warnings before any particularly nasty parts, but if that's all too much, we'll see you in the next one. Well, not the next one or the one after that. Eventually, when we're not doing one that's totally gnarly, ridiculous reality TV shows, we'll see that.
And Ash, can I ask just on that, just because like if like people are sitting here listening, like can I ask why we've decided to do these episodes? Just so like someone from the very beginning can have that understanding of what they're about to end. Or do you know what I mean?
Yes, it's like, well, why are we?
Yeah.
No, totally. It's like, why are we talking about this, right?
Yeah.
And before I go into that, there are resources, as always, in the show notes and on our website if you need them. And if at any point it's too much, please switch off and get help. So, yes. For me, the reason we're talking about this, and part of it is very selfishly, I feel like I have been personally victimized by the behemoth that was America's Next Top Model.
Yep.
And I want vindication. And
might have been a little bit healing for you.
Also, I think it is worth talking about because there have been so many documentaries on this. There has been a new, refreshed global discussion about America's Next Top Model and the horrible tactics that happened. And one thing I have noticed is that there hasn't really been that really nuanced take about eating disorders in particular that people have like kind of touched on it, but no one's really spoken about it. And I haven't really seen any sort of eating disorder experts talk about it. I mean, I'm not saying that we're experts, but we're experts by lived experience. And I feel like now I can be an expert on it. But that's why I want to talk about it, because I think for me, looking back, it really is that conditioning of how we all kind of got here. And it was such a massive cultural cog in the wheel of diet culture, especially in the early 2000s, which is another sort of thing that I want to go into at some point of like the 90s and 2000s of that toxic body image. But I really wanted to deep dive into this in particular because it was such a cultural phenomenon. And I think it's worth looking at, especially how eating disorders were portrayed on the show. And they were essentially, spoilers, not spoilers, used as storylines. And I find that particularly egregious. And also the other thing that's really been pissing me off as well is Tyra's obviously now come out on the Netflix documentary and spoken about it for pretty much the first time. And her response left a lot to be desired. And I have thoughts. And
Dodge some responsibility.
She matrixed that shit in terms of the responsibility. And again, we will get there, but it's just that's why I really want to talk about it.
And-
And that's why it's important to talk about, especially because reality TV is not going anywhere.
Well, I was
And
gonna
the
say,
tactics are not
yeah.
going anywhere either.
Can I also though, like, and obviously this is just a question to you more than anything else, probably, like wondering if this is also relevant in the why. Like the climate we do actually currently have is online. Like we're talking about like these modeling agencies and shows and all that sort of stuff. But now it's on the online space. Like we have Instagram, and how rampant are like Instagram models. And like I brought up before, children Instagram, which is fucked up and I hate it. But like it's all, I feel like this is like a thing that's on the TV and it's a reality show that we watch, but I actually feel like it's translated now into our everyday life online sphere that we access all day, every day when we open up our phone. And I feel like, is it also relevant to talk about because it's actually maybe in a lot of ways not so different to what we're consuming on Instagram or TikTok or whatever.
I completely agree with you. And but when the show aired, there was no social media.
No.
So it was mainly contained and confined to these shows, and also on like printed media, on magazines and tabloid stuff, and in movies and film and stuff. So it's not like it didn't exist, but now we have that sort of 24/7 nature of it. So it is just the leopard changing its spots, essentially.
I totally agree, because we talk about like America's Next Top Model is over, yeah, but it's transformed into, like, on Instagram we're seeing eating disorders used for fashion, for games, for all of this sort of stuff. We're using like wellness, we're seeing the sexual assault rape culture online, like showing up, comment sections. We're seeing fat phobia, we're seeing ableism, we're seeing all of this stuff show up on the online sphere that is arguably, maybe in, like, if it was in a vacuum still, more harmful than America's Next Top Model on the TV. But that's like, it's presented itself to us in that way, and so it's a platform to talk about it.
Exactly. So like I was saying, there has been a resurgence of talking about America's Next Top Model, or ANTM as it is widely referred to, and how I will be referring to it for the rest of the episode for brevity's sake. But it has returned to the conversation for two reasons. So the first is that many of the NDAs have expired from the contestants.
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't realize that. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah. So
okay, cool.
A lot of the contestants are now more freely able to talk about what they enjoy.
So the NDAs were like 23 years old, and like, because that was like 2003 is like 23 years ago, right?
Yeah. But also I think as soon as one person speaks, then it's sort of
flow on.
It's a flow-on effect, right? But also during 2020, the lockdowns, there was really nothing else to do. And ANTM was put on streaming services for the first time. So many people began binge watching the show again.
Jesus.
Yeah. So a lot of them for the first time. And they were seeing it in this new light, particularly by Gen Z or Gen Z.
Right. Yeah.
And also, you're going to hear planes in the background because I do not have the time to stop. And
I also feel like no one cares at this point.
I do not have the time to stop and wait for planes because I've got so much to get through.
I don't feel like anyone cares. Deal with it. It's a plane going to like somewhere good.
What then happened was sort of this fervor of critique about how the show was allowed to get away with so many things back then, and people hurling criticism at Tyra Banks, many of which is deserved, some of it's not, but a lot of it is, and people looking back at the late 90s and early 2000s phenomenon with the, pardon the expression, 2020 hindsight, right? And if you think that we're going to say, oh, it was just a different time back then, you would be correct. But if you think I'm going to use it as a valid excuse, you are sorely mistaken. So, of course, we have the new Netflix documentary that came out where Tyra speaks for the first time, as I mentioned. But there's also was another documentary by E! Network, and by Vice as well. And I've seen them all because, of course, I have. And there've been
Ash has gone on a deep dive.
But there have been like loads of commentary videos as well that have very valid points. But like I said, what I feel was really missing was that lived experience ED perspective. So it is a rich text full of problematic points. So before I get into everything, oh my God, there's so much context. Another disclaimer, obviously there are some very well-known controversies surrounding the show, namely the race swapping shoots. Yes, I said shoots because it happened 3 times. Not twice like everyone everyone thinks it was. No, they did a Michael Jackson inspired photo shoot where, of course, they put models in blackface again.
Sorry?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. 3 separate blackface photo shoots.
Yeah. All right. Yep.
Yeah. And the way that the show portrayed and talked about and showcased race, I, like many people, have very strong feelings about this, and my thoughts echo the opinions that have pretty much already been shared at length on many of the documentaries, mainly by Black people and people who were very much affected far more than I would have been from like as a white person.
Yeah.
And I don't really think that I can add anything of value to this discourse that hasn't already been said by people whose opinions matter far more than mine.
Okay.
So I strongly encourage anyone who wants to hear more about that to go to the sources that in the description to watch for yourself. I strongly recommend the podcast, The Curse of America's Next Top Model, which was hosted by Bridget Armstrong, who's an amazing Black woman journalist, and can talk on this topic far better than I ever could. Also, the e-documentaries in particular were produced by the same people, I believe, both of which have probably the best nuanced discussion about race and this show. So I would highly recommend going to those sources, but I will only touch on the race topics very, very briefly to add some context to the background story, but it's not really my place to comment on that stuff because it's already been said.
People have spoken about it. Go listen
exactly.
to that.
So go, these people have done already the amazing work, so please go and support them by listening to that.
Maybe a link in the show notes.
Oh, all the links. Trust me.
Links.
All of the resources I've used will be on our website, but also most of them will be in the description below.
Awesome. Cool.
What it is my place to comment on, however, is how this show treats and handles eating disorders, body image, and beauty standards. And more so, I also think the show raises a lot of commentary about bodily autonomy, informed consent, and what some contestants have called psychological warfare. So put it this way, I don't think that starvation, fat shaming, sleep deprivation, unsafe working conditions, and controlling food should play any role in manufacturing TV drama. And if you think I'm joking, buckle up, kiddies. Let's go.
Do I need an extra seatbelt? Like, I feel like I need like my daughter's car seat or something. Like, fuck me, like a baby, like restraint.
I know.
Okay, cool. I'm in.
All right, so I'll quickly whittle off some of the main resources that I used for this. One of the books I read was You Want to Be on Top, a memoir of makeovers, manipulation, and not becoming America's Next Top Model by Sarah Hartshorn. She's a contestant from Cycle 9, and she was the only plus size, quote unquote, contestant of that cycle. Very good. Highly recommend. It's great. 10 out of 10 recommend. It's also on audiobook and it's voiced by the author, which is great. Another book I read was Reality Bites Back, The Troubling Truth About Guilty Pleasure TV by Jennifer Posner. I mentioned it already, The Curse of America's Next Top Model, hosted by pop culture journalist Bridget Armstrong. There's a creator who I love, I've spoken about her before, Luxaria. She does YouTube commentary and has done many a reaction of ANTM, and it is the person in which I credit this glorious soundbite to, which I will be using.
It's all your fault, Ken Mock!
That will be sprinkled throughout the episode. Luxaria, I love you. Join her Patreon, by the way. She's amazing. And another creator and self-described ANTM expert, Ellen from the channel Elle Literacy. Mm-hmm. And of course, my other main sources were the Netflix, Vice, and e-documentaries, plus my own personal knowledge on this entire phenom. Highly recommend.
And your own lived experience, because you fucking experience the phenom that it is as well.
Exactly. So all of the links and all the sources on the website, therecoveryfeed.com. Oh my God. Okay. Far out. We're 27 minutes in and we haven't even gotten there. So I know that every ANTM video or podcast has a brief overview. So apologies for those who have heard this all before, but Callie, you have not. So I want to set the scene and the context of this show because I think it is important to know who Tyra is, where the show came from, Tyra's initial intentions, or at least what she claims her intentions were, and where we ended up, because all of this will be setting the stage for where we are going. So for those who may be living under a rock on a planet far, far away and doesn't know what America's Next Top Model is, I mean, I'm surprised you're here, but hi, hey, welcome. ANTM was
because they love us, so, you know.
ANTM was a reality TV show from the early 2000s to the mid-2010s. And that was the brainchild of one supermodel, Tyra Banks. And supermodel is the correct term for her because she really shot to fame over a good part of about 10 years or so in the 90s and was a supermodel.
And supermodels back then were like super people, as in like they were viewed as like gods.
They were muses.
Yeah, like they were like the top of the game, like the most famous people there could be.
There was a model and a celebrity, and the two of them were very, very different. And Tyra will tell you they are very different. But
right.
Tyra Banks is an interesting one, and I think she's an incredibly complex character, fascinatingly so, all of which we're going to get into, but I will give her a little bit, I'll give you all a bit of background, as I think it really informs some of her behavior later on, for better or worse. So Tyra Banks was raised in Inglewood, California. She was born to Carolyn London and Donald Banks. Her mother in particular was and is still a very, very powerful role model in her life and her career. She said multiple times that she was often teased growing up for being very thin, and she was considered to be the ugly duckling. Tyra has later said that it was a very difficult time for her, and she developed a very strong self-image problem because she was so thin. And in 2014 in particular, she cited in an interview that her weight has played a major part in her life. Direct quote from her, quote, "The summer I turned 11 years old, I lost, redacted, pounds, and I had a growth spurt. It wasn't even supermodel thin. It was more than that. Some people thought I had an eating disorder," end quote. Tyra has said multiple times that she did not, nor has ever had an eating disorder, but she said in this interview that it was impossible for her to gain weight at the time, and she was brought into a doctor to figure out what was happening to her body. She was even misdiagnosed with giantism at one point, which is just a ludicrous thing to say to an 11-year-old when they're still growing. Yes, I know. Wild.
Was she actually like exceptionally tall at 11?
She's 5'11".
I don't know how tall that is. How tall is that in like centimeters?
178, 180.
Oh, okay, so like way taller than me.
Yeah, really, really tall.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. All right. At 11, yeah, okay. But I mean, not giantism. Fuck me. Okay,
no,
yeah,
I know.
All right.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Cool.
Before we move on, in the same interview, she said that she eventually went to go on and gain some weight and grow into her curves from 11 years old. Who would have thought, right? But she went on to say, quote, "Who would have thought that the girl who was forced to go to the hospital because she's so skinny would one day be called too fat? I know the pain of somebody who's too thin and the pain of somebody being told she is too big," end quote. So let's just put a pin in that.
Okay.
I mean, I'm very sympathetic. Like it's
Yeah.
that's horrible.
Like, what I know about Tyra is that there is a period that she put on weight and she was ridiculed in the media for it. Yes.
Absolutely. And that is so not okay. Like point blank.
No,
we will get a lot of sympathy from us from that as a human to human.
Totally. Yeah.
Tyra began modeling at the age of 15 and with the help of her mother, Carolyn London, who was a photographer, assembled a modeling portfolio. She began seeking professional representation from agencies at the age of 17, but faced numerous rejections, allegedly because of her quote-unquote ethnic look.
Oh, okay.
And I think in the context of the 90s, we know what that meant, aka you're too black for us. And she has said in interviews that agents told her, quote, "We don't want black girls. Your nose is too big. Your lips are too full," end quote.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And this is 17. So I can only imagine for a young black girl what that must do to your self-esteem, especially when you're already being teased for being too thin and then thinking something's wrong with you and then add the overt racism on top of that, especially with America's history being so rooted in racism and generational trauma, and we know what can stem from that. It makes for a very complex lens to see the world through when you are so young. And again, I'm not even pretending like I know what that means, what that feels like, but from everything I have, we're acknowledging that
we can
really
be empathetic that's for fucking sure.
In 1990, however, she gained professional representation with Elite Model Management, and then going on to feature in 17 magazine, which was a huge publication of the time. Still, I think it's still around. I don't know if it is, but it was a huge magazine.
Huge teen magazine, right?
Exactly. Then after graduating from high school in 91, at the age of 17, she was scouted by a French agent who offered her the opportunity to model high fashion collections on the runways of Paris. Now, high fashion is obviously like the creme de la creme of modeling. It's, the most
like
amazing
Bulgarian,
and Prada and Coco Chanel and all of them. During this time, she describes living in a model dorm or an apartment with 8 or 9 other models, pounding the pavement to try not to just pay her bills, but to essentially be chosen for supermodel status. It's also important to talk about the era in which Tyra began her career, the early 90s, again, future episode. This was the era of heroin chic. I hate that.
Yeah,
hate
so
that
we're
name.
talking like Kate Moss, like who
Peak
else?
size 0, even size 00, the popularization of the waif aesthetic. Kate Moss, Ally McBeal was big on TV, Victoria Beckham, just the extraordinarily thin bodies. Essentially, they are the ideal. And this was the time when you saw models essentially dropping dead on runways. But also with that ideal came with the youthfulness and the whiteness, especially in Paris. The thinner you were and the whiter you were, the more money and opportunities you would get. So this was the standard that Tyra was thrust into and told to compete against. Speaking again from a white perspective, I cannot even begin to imagine the racism, the microaggressions, or just straight out aggressions that she must have faced in this time, especially being so young. There were very, very few Black models back then as well, all of whom were paid far less than their white counterparts. And seemingly, as it was portrayed at the time, there was only room for one main Black female model trailblazer at the time. First, there was Naomi Sims, then there was Beverly Johnson, then Iman, then Naomi Campbell, and then there was Tyra Banks. There was this early clip of Tyra that was included in the E! Documentary where she said this herself. She saw there was only seemingly room for one Black model at the top at the time, and she didn't want to knock anyone off the top, probably speaking about Naomi Campbell without actually saying it. And she said that it means that someone will probably come and knock me off the top too. Put a pin in that.
Okay. All right. Oh, Lordy.
Regardless, in her first season in Paris, Tyra walked a record 25 shows and subsequently went on to appear on the cover of Spanish Vogue, and she was soon christened the new Naomi Campbell, which was, as we just mentioned, to anyone familiar with the Tyra law, this is, I'm sure, did not suit Miss Campbell very much at all, in the sense of there's this new Black it girl and there's only room for one, and I will touch on that in just a moment. Before I do that, quick roundup of the rest of Tyra's 90s career. She decided to manage her own career at that point, expand to other industries as well as modeling. Between 91 and 92, she featured in the pop music videos of Michael Jackson's Black or White. People might remember that. Tina Turner's Love Thing and George Michael's Too Funky.
Wow. Okay. Yep.
She returned to the US from Paris in 93, where she landed a recurring role on several episodes of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air with Will Smith. Mm-hmm. And also in 93, she became the new face of CoverGirl. It was at this point where she really gained the supermodel label, being one of the very few Black women to earn that title. And then in the mid-1990s, she said that due to her increasingly curvaceous figure, i.e. literally just having boobs and hips, which
being
is
a
extremely
woman.
extremely unfavorable during this heroin chic waif era.
Yeah.
Tyra began to see a drop-off in her runway bookings. She said that she started to feel the pressure to lose weight to keep these jobs, but she refused, which I'm like, say, kudos to her. That is not an easy thing to do.
No. It's a livelihood as well.
Exactly. So
everything that her worth is put upon. Yeah.
Exactly. So instead she decided to shift more towards lingerie and swimwear modeling work, which at the time, and I suppose now as well, typically favored models who had the assets that needed to sell. In 1996, she became the first Black woman to grace the cover of GQ magazine, which was Gentleman's Quarterly, I believe.
I was going to say, is it GQ almost like a high end
men's magazine?
Men's magazine, with men's fucking fashion and shit in it.
Yeah. She became the first Black woman to appear on the cover of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue, as well as the Victoria's Secret catalogue. And in 97, she became one of the original Victoria's Secret angels. We remember this era of crippling body image, don't we? The Victoria's Secret fashion shows.
Oh, yes. Victoria, fucking Christmas Eve.
Yep.
Anyway, yep. I've been victimized by that one, but yep.
Just a side note. When I was in hospital, they decided to play it. No, not the nurses. One of the patients decided to put the Victoria's Secret fashion show on TV.
How is that allowed?
I don't know. And someone even said, isn't this triggering for you guys? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. I don't know why it was allowed. Anyway, side note.
The fuck? Because I feel like we can put Victoria's Secret's fucking fashion show. That can be another little special that, God, right? Tie it on in with America's Next Top Model. But anyway, yep. Okay, cool.
But the Angels were the brand's most visible spokespersons or spokesmodels at the time. And by the early 2000s, she was one of the top earning supermodels in the world. So at this point, Tyra was at the height of her supermodel success. But before we dive into her ventures into reality TV, which I know is what we all came here for, and we're 40 minutes in and we haven't even got there, I want to briefly touch on the feud between Naomi Campbell and Tyra, as I think it's interesting, again, to lay the groundwork of what will eventually become ANTM and all the things that Tyra and the show have been accused of as doing as part of production. Because I think there might be some unacknowledged trauma there that she might be acting on.
Shocker. I mean, I can think of a lot of trauma already that she might be potentially acting on.
Oh, you think? Yeah. I can see that you're seeing all of the cards that I'm laying on the table.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's interesting.
Tara is a 13-year-old. Tara is a 15.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Okay, cool.
So prior to Tyra's meteoric rise, Naomi Campbell was one of the big four supermodels of the 80s, alongside Cindy Crawford, Christy Turlington, and Linda Evangelista. And you do not need me to tell you that Naomi was clearly the only Black woman in that mix. Again, reinforcing this idea that there's only room for one Black supermodel at the time. As we enter the 90s, as we mentioned, Tyra broke into the industry, and due to the Paris exposure, she almost shot to fame and recognition in the fashion world overnight and was dubbed the new Naomi. The media absolutely played a role in pitting these two women against each other.
Shocker. No way. Not the media.
And this was and still is a problem with how they treat Black women in particular. Like, we've seen it with things like Rihanna and Beyonce, or
I mean,
Beyonce
Black women in general, not to mention Black, like Black women especially, that's obviously a whole nother fucking layer, and just women also in general, like
in the 90s, like there was this like, oh, Beyonce is great, but she's no Ashanti. It's like, again, just constantly be like, oh, here's the token, here's the new token, and just comparing
Jamila Jamil always says that a successful woman in the media or in the public eye has a time period, and she has so I think she says it on her podcast or like her or a Patreon, whatever platform she says it on. She's like, you just watch, there's a time period and they're allowed to exist for X amount. And we've just seen it with
Chapel Roan.
Yeah. She's just
Sabrina Carpenter's next for sure.
Oh yeah, 100%
I would go to war for Sabrina Carpenter. We talked about
I know
this.
you would. Yeah, I know you would. I mean, look, low-key might be with you. Honestly. But yeah, it's let alone being a Black woman.
Completely. And I mean, Tyra and Naomi, they look nothing alike. So
nothing alike.
So essentially, there was only room for one.
Definitely room for more than one person. That's for fucking sure.
Right. And Naomi was from the UK. Tyra was from the US. Yeah. And, Tyra said that Naomi made it clear to her that Naomi did not want her to be there and did everything in her power to make her go away.
Wow. Yeah.
In an interview in 2019, Tyra said, quote, I got to Paris and it was very difficult. I did really well, really fast. But then the industry was saying, oh, look out, Naomi Campbell. Here comes Tyra Banks. So Naomi, sit your butt down. This younger one's going to come and take your place. It was really unfair to her because the other models that weren't Black, like Kate Moss, came up. We were in the same generation. They weren't saying, look out, Christy Turlington. This cheekbone girl has cheekbones higher than yours. Get back. They weren't saying that. It wasn't fair to Naomi, but to this day, I'm very scared of her. It was very difficult, like some of the lowest times in my life dealing with that. End quote. They reconciled at one point. Apparently it's still ongoing, blah, blah, blah. Like they went on Tyra's talk show, because of course she had one, to reflect on this feud. Again, Tyra saying in 2019, quote, I didn't understand that as a young girl. Like, why is she doing this? That's so evil. That's so awful. The adult me understands. She was reacting to an industry that was all about a token, end quote.
And God knows what was being told to Naomi as well, right? Like God knows
Absolutely.
what the people around, because the people around her would have been 100% inflaming the issue and saying, unless you do X, this will happen, or we won't support you, or whatever it is. Like there would have been behind closed doors, like an absolute shit fight.
I think personally that the truth probably lies somewhere in between these two ladies' memories of like who did what, who said what. I mean, Naomi Campbell pretty much has said, oh, I don't remember saying that, but if you say it happened, then I'm sure it did, which is like, okay, that kind of sounds like you're admitting to it, but whatever. But like, were they pitted against each other? Absolutely. Were both of them threatened by each other? Of course. They were both put in horrible situations. And like you said, their livelihood and success and careers were tied to the fact that they were really only room for one in the spotlight. And that would be enough to make anyone lash out or say things that they may regret later or hurt each other. Now, you may be wondering, I'm here to listen to ANTM, and why are we talking about this? Well, like I was saying, I think it provides some really interesting context about Tyra's rise to fame, how she experienced racism and fat shaming in the fashion industry, and how she felt this pressure to conform to beauty ideals at such a young age. I said already, I think she's experienced quite a lot of trauma. And especially like being paid less, being objectified, all of that. It's all very horrible. And as a model who was getting curvier compared to her wave competition, she went where she could get work. So I have tremendous sympathy for young Tyra, who essentially had to grow up and deal with all of this before the age of 30.
I mean, can I just say a big fuck you to her mum? But anyway, yeah.
I think, look, I don't know much about Carolyn London except for what Tyra has said. I'm not going to say there's a little bit codependency going on. It does seem a little bit like that.
What I'm going to say is that you're a fucking mother and protect your fucking daughter. Don't put her into that world at that age. Anyway.
Sorry. I mean, I understand that like she was there's this whole... Tyra said that her mother was always extremely supportive of her and, but of course she did send her daughter off to Paris alone and there's only so much you could do on a payphone call every other week, It's...
At 17 years old. Anyway, yeah.
So I have tremendous sympathy for young Tyra. Where my sympathy wanes. What she goes on to do next.
Yeah.
So, as I mentioned, Tyra was interested in
Two truths can
diversifying...
exist at once.
Oh, there's so much of that. Oh my God. Welcome to a very nuanced take of this show, because that's all I wanted to do here. Yeah. So, as I mentioned, Tyra was interested in diversifying her career, moving beyond the modeling industry, branching into film, music, TV, etc. By the end of the early 2000s, she was one of the top earning supermodels, and in 2003, she founded a production company that would go on to become Bankable Productions. Side note, great name. Great name. I thought Bankable Productions. So great. At this point, she was 30 years old, and the thing I will say about Tyra is she is very intelligent. She's very smart, very savvy, especially when it came to business. Early 30s, which is like dog years in the modeling world, right? So she's aging out of the modeling industry. She's looking to that latter half, and she wants a backup plan. And she has all of these dreams about what she wants to do. But Tyra also said that she had this urge to change the fashion and beauty industries. She wanted to portray different types of beauty and wanted to show a realistic portrayal of what it takes to become a model. And thus America's Next Top Model was born. So keep in mind, this was the era that saw the birth of reality TV. So Big Brother, American Idol, The Real World. Project Runway came a year later, probably in large part to America's Next Top Model. But this was the landscape in which this show was born into. And at the same time, Jackass was on TV, Fear Factor, Survivor. So it was primed to fit into
And it
this
was
slot.
all very like shock factor reality TV, right? Like the more shocking things that could happen, the more views they got, basically. And I mean, we're still seeing a version of that now, like with maths, etc. So to
Put
shift
a pin
a
in that,
bit.
Callie.
Okay, all right.
Put a
so
pin in that.
Pinned.
We're putting pins in lots of places. I feel like the guy with the board and the red string, I feel like that meme. Putting pins in a lot of places. I promise I'm getting there. And we will unravel everything.
Great.
So Tyra met Ken Mock in 2002.
It's all your fault, Ken Mock.
Tyra reached out to
It's gonna be a
him.
new stim I have. Yeah.
Tyra reached out to him. Ken Mock was the reality TV brain behind the shows Making the Band, which was like a 90s making a boy band sort of reality TV show, as well as WWF Tough Enough.
Oh.
Any of my fellow wrestling fans out there? Yes, that one, the very first one.
Lol. Yeah.
The show was co-created by Ken Mock, Tyra Banks, and Kenya Barris. The latter of which you don't see him anywhere. He has seemingly escaped so much wrath of this show, but he was involved throughout the entire thing.
Yeah, right.
The show was pitched to multiple networks, rejected each time until they knocked on the door of UPN, and they said yes. Now, UPN was apparently quite a youthful TV network that had lots of sort of black drama, black comedy. So it fit right in that space. So Tyra signs on as the host, creator, and executive producer of America's Next Top Model. And like I said, she is a complex character. I believe that her intentions were true-ish, that she set out to change the standards of beauty, open doors to the modeling industry and the modeling world to different types of people, and she wanted to show beauty from all different races, body size, body types, genders, sexualities, socioeconomic backgrounds, all of that. And I also want to go on the record to say that she did do that to some extent. To be objective and to be both sides here, I want to give Tyra credit where it's due. early 2000s, she put people on a show that we were not used to
Seen in like the modeling industry, yeah.
Yeah, but like the runway coach, Miss J. Alexander, and the creative director, Jay Manuel, two very openly gay men. Miss J in particular was very beginning portrayed exactly as he is, a proud gay man, black man who flip-flopped his pronouns and gender expression, always showing his like gender-bending style, wearing dresses, heels, suits, everything. Jay Manuel was a biracial gay man with platinum blonde hair who trained as a makeup artist and a background in fashion. So we were not used to seeing these kind of people on our screens. So massive kudos, right? And then Tyra did cast many women of color and black women in almost every cycle. And most, but not all, there was at least one plus size contestant in most seasons. She cast women who were from impoverished communities or people who wouldn't normally have been access to what was seen as an elite industry, especially like the modeling world. It was seen as this white, elevated, rich industry. Fashion house adjacent. It was lots of money. So you wouldn't see, to use Tyra's words, girls from the hood in that space, which she used that expression a lot, which, I mean, I'm not going to comment because, yeah.
That's the expression she used.
That's the expression she used. Tyra also would cast people who were openly gay, which was great. Tyra also cast one of the first openly transgender women to appear on reality TV.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
She had contestants with disabilities.
And this was like early 2000s, right?
Early 2000s.
Yeah. Cool.
All the way through to 2010s. And she had contestants with disabilities and others who spoke openly about their different medical conditions. So, for example, one model was legally blind. One had alopecia, another had lupus, one had vitiligo, and another had psoriasis. And she had a petite season as well, where she only cast models that were under 5'7", which I'm just like, that doesn't really make sense, but whatever. And I think this show absolutely broke ground in terms of exposing the world to the different kinds of beauties. So yes, I have no doubt that her intentions at the start were mostly pure in terms of expanding beauty standards. I also believe that those intentions vanished very quickly as soon as she realized or was told what would translate into ratings for reality TV, and even more so when she needed to service the corporate fashion and beauty advertising overlords. I also believe that her actions many times did not match up with her intentions, as many attempts to showcase these different types of beauties were done in a performative or tokenistic manner, used as cannon fodder for storylines. And while Tyra said she wanted to break beauty standards, what she did instead, in my opinion, was reinforce stereotypical standards of beauty that perpetuated the body dysmorphia and eating disorder narratives that she wanted to change, allegedly, bullied a bunch of young, impressionable women in the process, and worse yet, broadcast it to millions of people around the world. And the majority of them suffered seriously harmful consequences.
Yeah, which arguably like destroyed their lives, right?
Exactly. Yes, while she broke ground in many ways, as we often see with those trailblazers, it was not without its casualties. Unfortunately, those trailblazers, she had to set them alight in the process. I realize that we have not even gotten to the bloody show yet, and because this context takes so freaking long, and that's why this is a 2/3-parter.
I'm buckled in. I'm in my car seat, so we're good.
So, like I said, the show had cycles, not seasons, meaning that they were often 2 cycles a year. That's why it wasn't seasons.
That's a lot.
There were 24 cycles.
Holy. Yeah,
yes.
Okay, all right.
Each cycle followed a group of aspiring models living together and competing against each other. Again, it was pitched as American Idol meets Big Brother, a contest and behind the scenes look at the modeling industry. But they wanted all the model house drama too.
Yeah.
So the format was...
And putting like a group of girls that you're trying to, like you're actively making compete against each other and tear each other down into one living environment. How does that go?
Oh, especially when you add very shady production tactics to it as well.
I can imagine.
Again, that we'll probably get into part 3, let's be honest.
Yeah, okay.
The format was very much set. For each episode, there was a lesson that was taught. In theory, it would help them become a model, but these, of course, became more and more ridiculous. A test of that lesson was then in the form of a challenge. Then there was a photo shoot. Then there was a judging panel where you would be judged on your photo and offered a task in front of the judges that was like reminiscent of the lessons you'd learned that week. one contestant was eliminated each week, or for what we were shown as a week, but really it was like every 3 days, until a winner was selected, until a winner was crowned America's Next Top Model. This second...
How long does that process take? Like, how long typically did that process take? Like,
in terms
per
of filming?
cycle? Well, yeah.
Or like what was showed?
In terms of filming, so like how long is a cycle? As in like, so you just said like eliminated every 3 days. Like how long would it take?
It was filmed over about 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
But a lot of the cycles had up to like 12, 13 episodes. So it would take 13 weeks to see it unfold on TV.
Yeah,
but
they'd stretch
in that
it
6
out.
weeks, they had to manufacture and produce as much, like enough content for
to make the episode.
episode.
Yeah. Okay.
So the second official episode was always the makeover episodes, which were must-see TV. And they were engineered to make at least 3 people cry. Some of them were given bad makeovers on purpose.
Seriously?
Oh, yeah. And if at any point you heard one of the contestants say, oh, I hope they don't cut my hair, or I'm just so easy to work with, that almost guaranteed that you would get the shittest lid possible.
They would chop their hair off.
Oh, girl. Oh, if you are shocked by this, just you wait. Oh, no. There would be people who had like hair down to their down to their butts, and they would chop it off. There was the most infamous one was Cassandra from Cycle.
I may have seen this one, yep.
Where she was, the beauty queen, and she had long brown hair, and she's like, oh, I'm so easy to work with, and hairstylists love me. And they chopped her hair off to be a la Mia Farrow in Rosemary's Baby, which, to be fair, everyone says she got a really shit makeover. I think if she had gotten that haircut, she would have looked so fierce, but that's beside the point. But yeah, they did the most drastic things possible. They also like peroxided people's hair that left them like shaking in pain with sores on their heads. They had like people who would sit for hair being braided for hours only to have it being taken out like the same day.
What the fuck?
They would like, and I don't know how it is with like Black people's hair versus white people's hair, or like Anglo hair, is that Tyra used the word weave a lot. Like, oh, everyone's getting a weave. My understanding was that weaves were very much specific for like
it's very
Afrocentric
cultural, yeah.
And she would just like sew these weaves. They're not like even extensions. It was like massive things of hair into other like the white contestants' hair. And for me, please tell me if I'm wrong in this, but it just didn't, and they never gave them proper instruction on how to care for their hair. So you just saw it become even more unraveled and crazy looking as the series went on, the cycles went on. But yeah.
Christ on a cracker.
They tried to make people who have the shittest lid possible. Also, I love that expression, having a shit lid.
A shit lid, I know.
Shout out to the podcast Sentimental Garbage, who is where I first heard
it's
that
term.
It's
such an essay term.
I know. Anyway, back to ANTM. No. The seasons were usually structured in the same way. 1 week was always dedicated to acting, so there was always like an ad read. 1 week was always focused on runway, and they would focus on the person who couldn't walk at all. There was always a makeup challenge thrown in there to throw off the bought ad placement for CoverGirl. And there was always you need to package yourself as a businesswoman and PR celebrity and a star. So, because that's totally a situation that would happen. So yeah, once there was about 6 contestants left, there would be an international portion of the show where they went overseas, which was pitched as we're going to all the fashion capitals. But after a few cycles, the fashion capital angle was kind of thrown out. Because once you've kind of done Paris, Milan, Tokyo, London, then it kind of did seem a little bit retrofitted. Don't get me wrong. I know other cities have like fashion scenes. But
totally, yes. But it's not like you can't say that Melbourne is on par with fucking Paris.
Yeah, like Bangkok, South Africa, or even Sydney is not a fashion capital.
No.
Anyway.
No.
In this overseas portion, they would usually always go and do like a go-see episode where they were forced to navigate a city they've never been in before, where they didn't know the language a lot of the time, and like a paper map, maybe a driver if they were lucky, and say, go and see all of these designers and be back in 3 hours, otherwise you'll die. No, but they would make
May as well say that,
deal.
But yeah. It's not far off.
They would make a huge deal if someone was late.
Jesus Christ on a bike.
So keep in mind, so many of these, I'm going to call them girls because they really were.
Well, they were young, right? Like so young.
Yeah, had stated that they'd never left the US. So they were hoping for some culture shock, right? Side note, and just a little trigger warning here for SA, one contestant in cycle 1 was sexually assaulted on the streets of Paris during this challenge. And yes, they aired it. And no, she didn't make it to all Lugosi's. And yes, that was seen as a personal failure on her because make it fierce, right?
I have no words for that. That's
Yep.
I don't like okay.
I will finish this sort of outline, and then I want to hear some of your initial thoughts, right?
Okay.
So the final, because I realize I've been talking for almost an hour straight here. The final episode,
I'm locked in.
The final episode was always shooting a CoverGirl ad and a final runway walk-off before one girl was finally crowned America's Next Top Model.
And am I to assume that they become like the new face of CoverGirl?
Should you survive all of that, the winner was promised no, you're right. Was promised a modeling contract with an agency, a photo spread in a magazine, and a contract with CoverGirl from cycle 2, at least, that was worth $100,000, apparently. Or at least that was what we were led to believe the winner got.
Right. Okay. Yep. Pin in that one, I suppose.
Well, I can quickly go into it. I won't go too much, but contracts have since been made public that ANTM was not contractually obligated to give the winner anything. And even if the prize was announced to millions of people on international television, they said that these prizes were given at the producer's discretion and that they didn't have to follow through with anything.
And did that happen?
Yes. They also said that they could announce the prize on TV, but then turn around and give that prize to someone else later, which is exactly what happened in Cycle 17 when they filmed the All-Star season. The winner, Angeli Preston, was initially announced as the winner. They filmed and recorded it. It didn't air. Instead, it was announced Lisa D'Amato as the winner. And they said that Angeli was disqualified. Producers claimed that they'd found out after the fact that, producers claimed that she was disqualified. It never gave any inclination of what that disqualification was based on. Producers claimed that they'd found out after the fact, allegedly, that Angeli had been involved in a human trafficking situation which breached the morality clause of the contract.
Sorry? What do you mean?
So she essentially was sex trafficked and they found out and they're like, oh, that's going to look badly on CoverGirl. So you've breached the morality clause.
She's breached the morality. What?
Yes. Except Angeli claimed that this was known to the producers ahead of time. So it's about whether they allegedly used this to manufacture drama.
Okay.
Again, all of this has been covered in other documentaries and podcasts, so I won't get into it. And especially Angeli has spoken about her experience, and I highly recommend you go and listen to it in her own words because her voice deserves to be heard. So it's in the Netflix one, it's in the E documentary. It's in the E documentary. It's in also the Vice one. So and the Curse of America's Next Top Model.
Okay, cool. Whew.
Yes. So there's so much that oh my God. I know I told you brevity is not my strong suit. Okay. So now we're going to get sort of into the general sort of topics and conversations about how they handled weight, shape, and body image and how this was sewn into the fabric of this show from cycle 1.
Okay, yeah. Trigger warning.
Yes, but before I do that and get into my central thesis and whole criticism of the show, tell me where your head's at, because I realize I've been speaking for a while.
I feel like you've gotten some pretty good reactions from me. I don't even know, Ash. Where is my head at? I have nothing to say. Other than Christ on a fucking cracker.
That is a first for you. Do you feel like you've dodged a bullet from not watching the show?
Continue.
Cool. So,
yep.
My central thesis and whole criticism of the show, which I want you to keep in mind as we go through this, the whole framing was when it was airing and also now retrospectively. So Tyra has doubled down on this. If this is what Tyra wants us to believe, that this show was, quote, a window into the reality of what it takes to be a top model, end quote, as well as I want to break down the standards of beauty in the modeling world. Now, I don't know about you, Callie, but for me, as I have sat stewing in the soup of ANTM discourse over the past few weeks, months and years, let's be honest, this framing to me seems like a bit of a contradiction.
Well, I just think...
Tyra will say one thing and then go on to do the complete opposite and then sell it to me as empowerment. Not for anyone else, but for herself, as if she's done something amazing.
So what is going through my brain here, Ash, is that the fact, so I think, and this, if I'm applying my like almost psychological type of my brain to this, like what they're trying to like unpick underneath Tyra, like what I'm hearing is that she was obviously, like we said at the very beginning, obviously very traumatized by the process of becoming the supermodel. She was extremely traumatized in that process. So what I'm hearing is that she then thinks that for someone to be a supermodel, like not just a model, like a supermodel to her standard, they too need to be traumatized. They need to be broken down. It's almost like, I think of like training for like, say, the military, where you enter the military, you enter this association, this organization that purposely breaks you down, purposely traumatizes you, purposely takes away your personality so that they can mold you to be what they need you to be. Because then if they ask you to do X, you will just do it because you've been completely broken down to a human that isn't able to use your own thinking to be like, no, that's fucked up. I don't want this anymore. They have made these people believe that this is their entire life. And without this, you are fucking nothing. And so she's now basically instilling that into the contestants because that's what she experienced. Am I spot on?
I mean, you were just totally nailed it. I almost don't think we need a part 3 because you pretty much summarized everything that I already said.
All right.
Like have planned for that, but totally.
Well, so that's what I've picked up on just so far.
I mean, and I'm glad that you have seen everything that I've sort of been laying out as reference for you because totally.
That's my entire conclusion of just what you've told me so far.
She has essentially tried to condition these young proteges.
Absolutely.
And break them down. At the same time, with that fear in the back of her mind, I believe, of I don't want to really build a lot of these women up because then they'll take my place.
Yep. Yeah.
So
they can't be better than me. I'm the top. Exactly. They can exist in this space. Others can exist in this space, but they cannot be as good as me. And the fact that I'm my trauma, my pain of becoming a supermodel wasn't televised. I am televising this, so I'm protecting myself in a sense.
And I honestly, totally, oh my God, you just totally nailed it. But it's just, I think that
if you publicly shame people, they're never going to sit at the top like you have.
I also don't think that Tyra implicitly had this thought as she was going through it. It's just was so internalized and this is just how it's manifested. And now we're looking back on it and that's essentially what it seems that she has done.
Yeah.
And I say this later on in my notes, but I'll say it again now, that if you wanted to really change the beauty standards and you really wanted to build models up and prepare them for the real world, there are better ways to do that than a reality TV show.
Well, on that point, I think we've just, like what you've explained, like Tyra herself was so traumatized, like behind closed doors, Tyra was broken down to be this thing that the model industry had created. Like she wasn't herself even. Like Tyra is like goodbye Tyra at the age of like 15, 17 as she entered the model industry. Like she was made to believe that this was her entire life. Without it, she is nothing. Hence the flow on from being the supermodel to creating a reality TV show, because like you said, once you start to age out of the modeling industry, it's like, then what? You go through this identity crisis. This is my entire identity. So I need to find something else that I slot into to keep my identity going. But she has been completely broken down to be that's her entire identity as well. And so like then she's got these models coming through that it's like, well, they need to go through the same thing. Got to complete again. The military is a perfect example of this. It is absolutely military thinking.
Spot on. And I think
you won't say no to things.
No, exactly.
You can't say no to things.
And again, we'll get into that in probably part 3 about this, essentially what became psychological warfare. And like she can have all of this intent in the world of wanting to change all of this, but that doesn't erase or excuse the impact that she had on generations, because her intentions and her actions are on totally different fucking continents.
Having trauma doesn't make it an excuse to treat someone else like shit. It's the same, it's the classic old like, well, they have they've got, I don't know, fucking some mental health condition. Like some, but they've murdered someone. It's the exact same. It's not okay. It doesn't make it okay. You've still murdered somebody. That's still not okay.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter if you're traumatized. It's not okay to fuck up other people.
Exactly. And look, I may as well get this out of the way right now, that this show was not a realistic portrayal of the modeling world whatsoever. I think that Cycle 1 probably came the closest to showing something that was realistic, but it was still tarted up for TV. Cycle 1 was considered a pilot, and it was on such a seriously low budget. Everything was shot out of hotel rooms. There were 10 contestants, whereas like later on they had like 12 or 14 contestants per cycle. But even early on, the photo shoots weren't as ridiculous. Like some were still jazzed up for TV, but still within the realms of possibility. And the challenges were still kind of like learning the basic modeling skills, but still like believable enough for TV. In Cycle 1, most of these models were scouted or they auditioned without much context for what the show was going to be at all. So they had no idea how it was going to be portrayed. And there was no social media for the former contestants. They were just told what they were told by the TV executives. They were sold a dream and an opportunity, and these girls bought it hook, line, and sinker. And I do not blame them.
Well, they're desperate to get into the industry.
Many of them were lived in impoverished communities. They were promised the world of fame and fortune with the powerful backing of Tyra Banks. And you could also be a supermodel.
Yeah, you're going to be able to look after your families and yeah.
And of course, hindsight is 2020, but it did not turn out to be that at all. And I'm not blaming any of the contestants, whether it was Cycle 1 or Cycle 24, because they didn't really know what they were signing up for.
Well, they were all a pawn.
Well, mainly also because the NDAs were tight shipped, so people couldn't talk about what they experienced. They just saw what they saw on TV. And they're like, well, I won't get a villain edit because it'll be fine. Because I won't be a villain.
I'm not like that. Yeah.
Exactly. But they totally misunderestimate the power of that edit.
We see it now though, right? Like we think of reality TV even now, like, and I think of like maths or like The Bachelor, right? We have like people like Abby Chatfield's a really good example, I think. Over in her season of The Bachelor, she was the villain. She was made out to be this disgusting, woman that just wanted to have sex every single day and was throwing herself. And then, and the way that she was sort of set up to say things that seemed dumb in inverted commas, or silly, or, I think
and
of
the
like
Franken edits.
Yeah, right. And it that's not it at all. Like the people behind the scenes are the ones creating the story, and they can do and say whatever they want and put in whatever drama. It's all for television and maths now, right? Like we see people, I think was it last season? Somebody was let in with like a convicted DV history. Like it's all entertainment, which is messed up.
As the creator Luxera always says, editing is always the extra character on screen. And it's important to watch that as you watch any reality TV show.
100p. Like nothing. Yeah, it's like it's not reality whatsoever.
So Cycle 1 was slightly more realistic because at this point it had become this viral sensation, which happened by Cycle 2. And by Cycle 3 and Cycle 4, it had become a cultural phenomenon. But it was still in the facade of being this realistic portrayal of the modeling world until it really started to break, which is 3 and 4. Because ANTM, after all, is a reality TV show. And executive producers, aka Tyra and Ken Mock, the producers know exactly what they needed to do to get ratings and what would get views. And like you said, it was
and at the end of the day, it's a business.
It is a business. And if you were going to make a real TV show about the real life of a model, it would be so friggin' boring. No one would watch.
Oh, 100%.
Go to any
Absolutely.
modeling site and look at their books, but also don't because triggering. But they do not have portfolios like Top Model.
No
model portfolios. They're stripped back.
It's
they're
very
boring. They're
100%.
understated.
All they want to see is their face and their very basic. Like, would you look good in X?
Yeah, models are supposed to be blank canvases, minimal makeup. I mean, high fashion sometimes, but even then it's just like they're there to showcase the clothes for the designers, both in print, catalog, and on the runway. The model is background noise. And so some of these photo shoots were so ridiculous that no designer or any even advertising agency or brand would ever use them in a million years. It just wouldn't not happen.
Yeah. So it's just shock factor. It's just entertainment and getting them to do ridiculous and like to shame them, to make them, to embarrass them, right? To break them down even more, to become their pawns.
And former contestants have said that their photos were essentially useless starting their careers, that they had to start over all over again because they could say, oh, this is a Top Model book, isn't it? And for those unfamiliar with Top Model photo shoots, they are the most batshit crazy ideas you have ever heard.
I've seen those. They're just
insane. We're told that this is a realistic portrayal of the fashion industry.
Like high
so
fashion.
We're meant to believe
it's not.
that We're meant to believe that photo shoots that are retouched to all of high hell, involving race swapping for a got milk ad, being hoisted upside down in a fishnet with rotting fish, posing as superheroes, posing in a bowl of Greek salad, posing as famous celebrity couples, posing as models, stereotypes, put a pin in that, posing as unhoused people with real unhoused people in the background, posing as murder victims when one of the contestants' mother was a survivor of gun violence, and then also being dropped into a 6-foot grave when you just found out that your friend died and told to look like the 7 deadly sins and look fierce. Yeah, these are all totally realistic jobs that models would find themselves on.
Rage
And I'm sorry,
baiting.
under no circumstances does that resemble any kind of real world job scenario.
God, no.
Better yet, remember how I said to put a pin in the fact that this was the peak era of shows like Fear Factor and Survivor?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Tyra mentioned that exact comparison too. So realistic for fashion. So if the producers found out that you had a fear of heights, well, you would be posing on the edge of Macau's tallest tower in the middle of a hail and thunderstorm, or being harnessed above a 4-story drop and told to make it look edgy. You have a fear of spiders? You're posing with a tarantula. You have a fear of drowning? Cool, pose in this body of water and look fierce, and we'll criticize you if you don't stay down long enough to get the perfect shot. We're going to make you pose with a crocodile, a bull, snakes. And that's just the photo shoots, and none of that was embellished. Those were all
so
real
traumatic
photo shoots. We're also going to, it's not just the photo shoots, we're going to make you walk on runways with hissing cockroaches, on rickety runways on top of water, or walk between pendulums. None of this.
Did anyone die?
None. No. People got hurt.
Wow. Okay.
People got
I'm
hurt.
shocked that no one died. Okay. Yeah.
But of course, if you think that their contracts didn't have a clause that said if that person died as a result of the show, that their families would not be able to sue them for damages, you would be wrong. Of course, they had that clause in there. They're also responsible for all of their own insurance, including medical insurance. But yeah, none of this, absolutely none of this.
They were responsible for their own medical shit.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Especially like in America. Yeah. None of this, absolutely none of these ideas would ever be real life scenarios in a fashion or brand shoot. It is just ridiculous.
In what world? Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
My Lord.
I'm not
Especially
saying
not
that,
these days when like fucking the digital era that we're in, that you can just literally like edit something to have fucking be surrounded by snakes if you want to. Like,
exactly.
Green screen.
Also, don't use AI. It's bad. But
yes, I didn't mean AI. I meant.
I'm not saying that there were photos that were like, they were all terrible. Like there were some that were like totally amazing.
Sure.
So for example, Joanna's final editorial helmet shot comes to mind, Shandy's Colosseum shot, Eva's spider photo shoot, a few of the beauty shots later on, like I'll put them up on the screen for those watching on YouTube. They were some of like the most gorgeous photos.
Sure.
But they were few and far between. And my God, these poor women were sold this idea that they would be given an advantage into the industry, only to leave the competition with an ANTM albatross around their neck. It was just insane.
Lordy. Yeah.
And that, again, that's not even mentioning the model makeovers. Like I already said, like go to any modeling agency website. They want a blank canvas. No crazy faux hawks, no bright colored hair, no weaves, no, like this, most models have long brown hair or long blonde hair. And some have short hair, some have curly, but no crazy styles that Tyra would give them.
Jesus Christ.
These makeovers were just designed to make people cry.
Yeah.
And
break them.
You know,
break them down a little bit more so we own you.
Exactly. And they're totally unrealistic for the modeling industry because they just were not versatile at all. And some deliberately misled the contestants to try and make them break on camera. For example, in Sarah Hartshorn's book, You Want to Be on Top, she wrote about Heather, a contestant with autism, who they initially told her that she was going to get her long black hair into a spiky pixie mohawk style. When she was far too excited for their liking, they said, oh, well, we're not going to do that actually. In fact, we're going to not change your hair at all. Essentially implying, as Heather told Sarah, quote, oh, let's freak out the autistic girl with this huge change, end quote. And it was so awkward that Tyra had to go and re-record most of her audio for a voiceover, which is what aired, end quote. Editing is the extra character on screen, everybody.
Oh my fucking God. Yep, cool.
So yeah, these makeovers were not realistic in the slightest, nor were the photo shoots, nor were the runways, nor were the challenges.
I mean, no good intentions, right?
Exactly. So why is this relevant? I thought you were going to talk about body image, and I am. Jesus,
I mean,
me...
yeah. Look, I'm following. I'm following.
While everything about the show was totally unrealistic, the only thing that was seemingly realistic and consistently real on this show was the body scrutiny and the reinforcing of these beauty standards that Tyra, so-called, was trying to get rid of. From the get-go, even from cycle 1, the justification of criticism, body shaming, and public humiliation was just how the industry is. That was sewn into every single thread that remained constant.
But wasn't that what she claimed she was trying to change? Like, yes, that is how the industry is, but I'm trying to change it? That's the whole premise of your show, Tyra?
But remember how I said that that's a bit of a contradiction? You can't show a realistic portrayal and saying, oh, we're going to body shame, but I'm just going to platform all of these people who maybe challenge these ideals, but I'm going to browbeat them and body shame them in the process.
Like so great that you had, you know, in fucking inverted commas, plus size models, because what even fucking is that? But
we'll get there, honey. We'll get there.
Yeah, I believe that we will. But like, you know, so we're trying to show off different body types, but we're gonna fuck them, you know, because of it.
And before I get any comments about it, yes, you could argue that some of the elements were grounded. Rejection is part of modeling, and it's appearance-based industry. Feedback can be brutal, blah, 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 blah. But unfortunately, this show used that to be believable. There was just enough reality in it to make the rest of it all go unquestioned. And that was used to justify some of the horrific behaviors.
And I think if anyone's sitting there going, but Ash, check yourself. You're on the wrong podcast.
I'm honestly trying to just like caveat anything of like to just, but I'm pretty sure that anyone who's listening to this,
I don't think that anyone's going to, but Ash, do you know, that's actually what the modeling industry is like. So like, you know, that's okay. I don't think anyone is sitting there and thinking that. And if you are, again, like kind of check yourself a little bit. I'll say it.
And like, I wouldn't even like, it wouldn't be okay, but I'd almost feel better if Tyra was just like, oh yeah, no, we just want skinny models and we're just going to like break them down to see if they can handle it.
Well, be fucking honest. Be for fucking real what your intentions are.
Don't try and say, oh, I'm trying to break the mold.
You're rage baiting. No. You're baiting.
You cannot say that you're breaking down the standards of beauty while reinforcing the narrow standard of the tall, ultra-thin, and Eurocentric ideal at the same time. In fact, by using that point of, oh, I'm going to challenge the norm, and especially later on encouraging contestants who don't fit that industry ideal to apply to the show and be cast, and then turn around and subject them to the ridicule and bullying that you claim to be challenging, then all you are doing, Tyra, is casting them to be lambs to the slaughter of thinness and whiteness under the guise of being a trailblazer. And to me, that is far more damaging than any other reality TV devil who's just got to openly say, like, yeah, I just want to cast a train wreck and get some clicks.
It's for some entertainment. So orchestrated.
The body shaming was just palpable and never ending. And I think the judges' comments were some of the worst. And the repeat offender was Janice Dickinson. Janice was the first supermodel, as she says. She appeared on the panel from cycle 1 to 4, but then she was replaced by Twiggy, who I have other weird feelings about, but I'm not going to get into. But Janice, even after Janice was removed as like a main judge, she would go on to appear in like other challenges or even photo shoots as a photographer for like color, you know, like added color. I mean that as like color commentary rather than, But Janice Dickinson has basically openly admitted that she was cast to be the bitch judge. Janice Dickinson was to ANTM what Simon Cowell was to American Idol. A very interesting and what I gather to be a very accurate observation was made by a culture writer, Shamira Ibrahim, on the E! documentary, which was Janice was saying all of these bitchy things so that Tyra didn't have to say it, and it gave Tyra plausible deniability.
It looked like Tyra was the one protecting them.
Bingo. So, in fact, there were many a time where Tyra tried to counter Janice on multiple occasions, and it would pitch herself as this like crusade of her body positivity. I'm going to play a quick clip for that kind of thing here. Obviously, trigger warning if you do not want to hear this. It contains body shaming, anti-fatness, self-induced vomiting, bulimia. So if you do not want to hear this, skip over for the next 30 seconds or so.
Just call it as it is. Robin, first of all, is too old to be starting a model.
She's huge. She's not going to be a top model.
She won't. That's the reality.
She should work for a car toppling company. I think that you guys are the problem with America. I think you are the problem of why women are leaning over the toilets at this very moment and vomiting after they've eaten, or taking laxatives after they've eaten. The full-figured market's changing, okay?
The body could just slim down 150 pounds. That would be good. Then she'd be 30 pounds.
That would be better.
She's not America's Next Top Model. It's ludicrous to think that she would be.
It will never be top model. The things that you guys say are the same things people said about Kate Moss. She's so short. I've never had a top model that tiny.
We're all fat. The entire room is fat. I'm fat. You're all fat.
Just like zero regard for their like well-being at all. Like,
keep in mind, this was going to, like, the other contestants were going to watch these comments once the show aired. So it's not like they were in, these weren't said to their faces, but they were still told this, right?
Yeah.
So at the end,
and it's also reinforcing to the people watching it what the ideals are.
So while Tyra at the same time was positioning herself to sort of align with her original intentions of the show.
Am I correct to say that like Tyra, so like she's trying, like they're trying to paint Tyra as a savior to come in and challenge Janice, but also from my understanding, like my little few times that I've watched it, from my understanding, Tyra is always also the person that the people in the show trust. So the contestants in the show trust. And so something's going on with this contestant, Tyra will come and talk to you to be the ear and to be the support and to be the person that you can talk to and lean on.
And to
so
be the executive producer to help further the
totally.
storyline.
Well, she's approved all of this storyline. So she's, she's approved fucking Jenna saying XYZ. She's, all of this stuff. It's all a fucking show and like a porn again. But they're painting her to be that person.
Also, Tyra has said multiple really awful things as well.
Totally. But it's out of love, I'm assuming.
No, it's just being honest and realistic about the industry.
But as in, like, because I want you to be successful, I'm assuming, is like the undertone.
So Tyra is absolutely still a perpetrator of a lot of this
totally.
stuff.
But they're trying to put her as a, like, do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, she's absolutely the fucking perpetrator, right? But they're trying to make it like, but I just have your best interests.
Let's not forget that Tyra was an executive producer and editor.
Mm-hmm.
So her actions here,
yeah,
as a self-proclaimed crusader for changing body standards, tell a very different story to what she says.
Totally, yeah.
Right off the bat in cycle 1, the girls were made to do public weigh-ins and measurements that were read aloud, not by a dietitian or nutritionist, and not that that would have been any better, but it was done by a personal trainer.
Okay, can I give you a little tidbit here?
Please.
And then still done to this day. Well, as far as my knowledge, maybe I can check this, but I'm fairly certain. So Swimming Australia currently does a very similar thing on the decks of the pool.
Oh, God.
So Swimming Australia. So like if you're, where you'd all line up and you'd have to be weighed in and you'd do it in front of everyone. They'd yell out your weight and then you'd be like either have to go see the dietitian or, whatever. Yeah. And they had like sports psychologists, but the sports psychologist was for group. So it was never individualized. And like this is a very recent thing Swimming Australia does. Yeah.
Yeah, guys, can we not do that, please?
Yeah.
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 Cool,
and they
fun.
wonder why, all of their fucking swimmers have eating disorders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Similarly with rowing too. Rowing as well.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, MMA and UFC kind of stuff, like that's all of that's read aloud, public weigh-ins. Like these are read, but then again, this is not a competitive sporting environment. Not that I'm saying that that's any better.
Well,
this is a reality TV show.
And I assume they're
these
not really,
girls
they're not being
were
paid.
Not told. Of course they're not being paid.
Jesus.
Of course they're not being paid. What are you talking about?
Because like my understanding with reality TV these days, and like they get some sort of pay, right?
So I'll talk about this later, but they get like a stipend which covers their food, which they are responsible for having all of their food for the entire season. But also keep in mind, these girls are not working. They're having to essentially take off any time for their jobs.
What about rent
so they have
and
to,
shit?
Oh yeah, no, that doesn't happen. So essentially, if you're trying to save as much as you can of your stipend to pay your rent.
So you're not eating. Well, I mean,
but
they weren't
that's
eating anyway, but like that's the whole point. But like, I guess that's another little like warfare tactic. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yep.
Pin in that.
Continue.
So yes, all of these girls, their weights and measurements were read aloud to everybody. And of course, everyone made a huge deal over who was the biggest, which was the plus size, quote unquote, contestant, Robin, put a pin in that. And who was the smallest? Elise, again, put a pin in that. This also didn't happen just once. This happened in cycle 4 again. Miss J was the one who was doing the weigh-ins, and there were no shots that were spared for the girls who were the biggest. That is for sure. Justice for Brita, anyone who knows the cycle 4 like Brita did not deserve the treatment she got. And she was let go first, basically. She was the biggest. It's like, no. Anyway, especially when there were plus size people, quote unquote, of the same cycle, what is the point of weighing and comparing
But also,
to others?
correct me if I'm wrong, I am so sure that when they brought these girls on to be contestants, they would have had all this.
Totally. Like, literally, what is the point? Except to body shame the
Yeah.
largest contestants and glorifying Gork at the smallest contestants and make a huge deal out of it.
Yeah. And again,
That was the only
Tyra's
reason.
trying to change beauty standards here.
And also, they were never weighed again. They were not given like a fitness storyline.
So it was literally just a shame tactic.
And
break them
to
down more
reinforce the
tactic.
thin ideal stereotypes.
Yeah, break them down more. Yeah.
Yeah. This is not the only time that Tyra's executive producer actions did not quite match up with her intentions or this like grandiose platform for trying to change beauty standards.
I feel like
No.
at this point I have a full on, like, we could have a book of just what we've spoken about so far, that these intentions don't match up. But anyway.
Again, who needs a book? Well, this is our audiobook, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no. Tyra was regularly playing executive producer, scary godmother,
Yeah.
when she was weaponized and used weight and body shaming as fucking storylines, along with so many other awful things that she used for storylines. It's so bad. Again, like I said, the essay stuff that we're not going to get into right now. But, oh God, there would be, again, like you said, we could fill like an entire series about this, but I'm not going to. Anyway, I barely scratched the surface of this. The majority of this was context. So
That's fine. That's all good.
we're nearing the end of part 1, I promise.
No. It's so fine. It's so fine.
But there are 2 case studies that I kind of want to look at before we end part 1 about how our scary godmother defied her good intentions and became the ultimate contradiction. And they mainly came down to how weight, body shaming, eating disorders, and standard beauty ideals were all used as cannon fodder for storylines. So Tyra was very adamant that she has never had an eating disorder, although I question how much of that's true because she's so over-fixated on weight. But I'm not going to self-diagnose her because that's not my place. If she said she doesn't have one, sure.
Yeah.
But remember how I said that she was teased for growing up for being so thin and everyone thought she had one? And then Tyra has always seemingly preached against eating disorders, saying that she takes them super seriously and the industry and beauty standards have a lot to answer for in terms of glamorizing and promoting disordered eating disorders, and thinness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as we've firmly established at this point, Tyra has a nasty habit of her actions as a host and executive producer not matching up with her words. In fact, doing the exact fucking opposite.
Mm-hmm.
On one cycle, she says that she takes eating disorders extremely seriously. However, it does not stop her ridiculing contestants over their extreme thinness in one half of the cycle while praising and perpetuating the same extreme thinness as the perfect body for high fashion. This is the only part of the show that is reality, is by body shaming. And cycle 1, literally the first one, right off the bat, this standard was set where you essentially see we're glorifying thinness and it's so bad, oh my God. Meanwhile, you're too fat to be a model, how dare you?
And do you think some of that has stemmed off Tyra's, like, the narrative Tyra received as a child, supposedly received the narrative as a child, around, like, you're too thin? Like, do you feel like there's a part of that that's almost like making herself feel better, like little Tyra almost feel better? I don't know if I'm reading into that too much or if I'm giving her too much credit here.
I don't think it's too much of a stretch. I think it all is wrapped up into how this show essentially became her taking revenge.
Yeah,
almost,
like
or
it's like
avenging,
revenge on the
avenging,
people, or like making
avenging the injustices that she felt.
She experienced. Yeah.
Right off the bat, in cycle 1,
Mm-hmm.
the standard is being set.
Yeah.
So here we're going to talk about the contestant Elise Sewell. We put a pin in her recently, so let's unpin her now.
Elise Sewell was the the smallest one in
So-
season 4.
Correct. Cycle 1.
Cycle 1, sorry.
Yes.
Cycle 1.
I always liked Elise, frankly, mainly for her personality. There's one of her photos where she was posing with this like white snake around her neck, and it is gorgeous. Oh my God. But it's on screen here for anyone who is watching the YouTube version of this. She was extremely striking, and she had that alien-like, wafy, European model-esque look to her. And I think she should have won, in my opinion. But let's be honest, if they wanted it to be realistic, Elise would have signed from an agency from day one. But of course, this is reality TV, so it's completely divorced from actual reality. Elise was 20 when she appeared on ANTM Cycle 1.
Baby.
It was told multiple times that she was a pre-med student. So she's she was a nerd, and she was a very adorable nerd, like clearly very smart, a bright person, scientific background, and she wasn't ashamed of it either. She was really proud of how smart she was. But of course, in an edit, that makes her look extremely arrogant. But I found her very funny.
And I'm sure that they would have loved to play that up.
Yeah. She had a really dry wit that I always appreciate. She had a few conflicts with the other girls, which is very unsurprising. I just think she was just really understimulated in terms of like conversation, and she couldn't really relate to any of them. I understand, like, if you come and you spend so much time in like from a university background and having like scientific conversations, that sometimes you might find other conversations with people who don't have a similar background quite bland. But she openly said, like, I found them all very vapid.
I mean,
she was
also probably like fair.
She was also a known and vocal atheist, which was the source of contention for two of the other contestants, Shannon and Robin, both of whom were very religious women.
I like Elise already, but I can only imagine that would have just opened a fucking can of worms, especially in American-based.
Robin in particular said, like, I don't think I've ever met an atheist. Wow. She was Southern, so apologies for my accent. But
sorry, it was iconic. Yeah, okay. Wow.
But she would spend many moments on reading her Bible, and also giving Elise verses that she should consider, and also reminding her to go to hell regularly. So I don't really blame Elise at all.
Cool.
Some of her top quotes, just because I feel like we need a bit of comic relief to relieve some of the tension.
Oh, not the atheist. Sorry, it's very funny.
Elise said, frankly, this dress is hideous and I'm so glad I don't own it. Giselle Giselle apparently coined the term for heat wave as a euphemism for farts, which I think thus far is her only contribution to society.
Okay.
Tyra told me that I was arrogant and condescending in my speech and in my interactions with others, and I think she was right.
Queen, yeah.
I'm clearly not spoiling anything when I say she didn't win, but she made it to the final three, and she was ultimately eliminated because I think Tyra thought that she didn't want it enough, and Tyra has a really bad habit of eliminating people who are not gracious enough to her for the opportunity, or not grateful. But Elise was also, as I mentioned, the lightest, smallest, and thinnest of the cycle.
Yeah.
She was very thin, but in my opinion, I do think that she is one of those women who was naturally very slender.
Okay.
She was even asked in her audition, and she said, I am naturally this thin. Like, I could be wrong, but Elise has denied from beginning to end multiple times that she did not have an eating disorder, nor did she have a disordered body image, and I have no reason not to believe her.
Well, you can only take what people say, and
ANTM, however, tried very hard to get all of us to believe it. Elise was rarely shown eating food. She was never shown being present at mealtimes, except for a couple of occasions. She was always filmed in like very scant clothing, like sports bras, tank tops, lots of shoulders to try and show how thin she really was.
Jesus Christ on a cracker.
She was there was, and then of course the eating disorder rumors start to be woven into her storyline. And about midway through the cycle, the girls began to comment on how little Elise ate and how she would frequent the bathroom. And of course, like, if I'm not being paid really anything and I'm also in a high stress environment, maybe Elise's response to stress is not being hungry. I kind of get that. If you're being told, oh, you have an eating disorder, I'm not really going to want to eat around people either.
Can I also just point out, though, like, the perpetuation, like how harmful this is to the definition of what an eating disorder is as well, though? Because like how much is that just perpetuating that this is a thin white woman that doesn't eat and apparently goes to the bathroom after meal times? Hey, not actually what an eating disorder is.
And let's be honest, you will find this throughout. It is not depicted really in any other way. I'm sorry. I'm going to spoil it right now.
Yeah, and like obviously we know that eating disorders exist in the modeling industry, and it's very, it can be in that context very body image focused and very driven. But again, that's not why they actually have the eating disorder either, though. Like it's, that's also a survival tactic. But anyway.
But again, they're just using this eating disorder rumor as
entertainment, which is the issue.
To the point where it even had its own episode title.
Jesus.
So up until cycle 10, each of the episode titles would be like, oh, the girl who did this, the girl with the signature walk, the girl who needs a miracle, the girl who drives
it's like the
girl
with the eating disorder.
Worse.
Oh, fuck.
No joke.
Oh, fuck.
The girl everyone thinks is killing herself. No, Callie's mic has not gone on mute. She is just speechless for the first time in her life. In this episode, the other girls pretty much just actively talk about Elise, but not in like an I'm a concerned way, like I'm concerned. It's just in like a gossipy way that's really quite malicious. It's all we're talking about her, yet seemingly no one's like asking Elise point blank or even checking in.
And
it's
so
always just like
there's
snide
that
comments
point,
and
right,
monitoring.
of like if there is that concern, hey, is Elise okay?
And I mean, like, and when Elise says, yeah, I'm fine, how about you believe her?
Like almost like this is a fault of Elise's. Like this is like a...
And then it was brought up, like there was...
like a character flaw? Like...
and they were brought up, it was like brought up to Tyra and Miss J, who's like, let's be honest, Tyra was like a judge, right?
It's like the
and
school
this was
principal.
brought up to Tyra, and it's like, oh, you know, there was a question like, oh, who eats the least in the house? And I was like, why would you ask that? There's no reason to ask that question. It's just so mean.
Fucking
and there
hell.
are regular cutaways of Elise saying, I'm just getting really sick of people commenting on how much I eat. I eat when I'm hungry and I stop when I'm full. And it's like, yeah, how about you just fucking believe her?
And also, I guess this is another point, although of you said, Ash, like, you know, production. What did you say? Like editing being the extra character in the room. Like, none of us could to this day, I guess, actually know how much Elise was eating at all. She could have been eating very adequately, but that's the story that they wanted to run, so they would have cut it to look that way. Like Elise could be fucking, I actually just don't like eating with these bunch of bitches. I want to go sit by myself in my room and eat my dinner. Like,
absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? Like we will never know.
And she was accused like regularly of like throwing up after meals, and it like kept being the storyline. And there was this killer line, which I could have swore I've seen in a confessional, but I cannot find the clip for the life of me. But it said something to the ilk of, if you think I'm throwing up, just ask the fucking sound guy. I've been mic'd up 24/7. Like, yeah.
Exactly.
But
right.
of course they're not going to include that, are they?
But also though, right, like even if she was, where's the fucking concern rather than like, again, this is a character flaw. Like this is a reason to bully this poor girl.
It was just totally manufactured. And the more I watched back on this in prep, I was just getting more annoyed. And then there was this like horrible moment. My heart breaks for her. Like she was just breaking down on the phone to her mum. She's clearly getting so over it. She doesn't want to be there. And it was just all about, but it was framed like, oh, she can't take it anymore. She's cracking. It's like, no. Like, I was just getting really...
Oh my Lord. People have fucking limits and boundaries. What?
I know, and you're trying to make such a big deal out of this. Demonizing eating disorders is like, oh, you're killing yourself. It's so bad. She was even like in the bottom two because it, you know, and eventually saved because like, oh, you know, we're really concerned that you might have this eating disorder thing, when she doesn't even have one, according to her. So you're demonizing her for having one, but then you punish her by nearly eliminating her. Meanwhile.
Yet though you want her to have this body.
Meanwhile, Callie, do you know all of the other comments that were going on about Elise during this cycle from members of the fashion industry, the designers, photographers, both in America and especially in the international portion in Paris?
Oh, Lord, what?
Oh, she's so deliciously skinny. I love it. She's got the perfect body for fashion. You're so high fashion. You're perfect for the runways. She's just rail thin. I love it. What message does this send us, hey?
Oh, my Lord. I can't. You're ruining me, Ash.
Like, EDs are serious, sure, but we're going to make a point of making them a storyline that may or may not even be true, and we're going to compliment the body and the aesthetic that we're being conditioned to think that was achieved by an eating disorder. It is just so fucking dark, man. And this was cycle 1. It
And
set
this is
the
like
fucking tone.
Well, like
it's all
said,
your fault, Ken Mock.
This fucking mental warfare. Holy fuck. And so then to bring it back to the point that you said about Tyra earlier, or Tyra said, sorry, from Tyra's mouth earlier, around the fact that, throughout her life she was too thin and then she was too big. And hey, Tyra, once again, contradiction.
No one's clutching their pearls hearing that this is the only time Miss Executive Producer Tyra Banks Ken Mock used body shaming, weight, and eating as a storyline.
Oh, I'm sure it's, cool.
Okay, now we need to talk about Kenya Hill. Okay. I swear this is the last portion before we break for part 2. And I'm going to power through this part with Kenya because it has already been covered extensively on both the Netflix and the E documentaries. Before we talk about Kenya, trigger warning, fat shaming, just overeating stuff, not even overeating, just normal portrayals of overeating, fat shaming, all of it. Just be prepared for this. Just just take care, all right? Skip ahead if you need to, probably about like 5 minutes. But Kenya Hill was on cycle 4. She made it all the way to the top 3. Cycle 4 was the winner where Naima was the winner, who I loved. It was also the season that had the infamous blackface shoot for the first time. And this is also the portion where they went to South Africa as the international portion. So Kenya was born in 1985 in Compton, California. She was 19 years old when she appeared on America's Next Top Model. She has said that she was bullied at school for being too thin. And full disclosure, when I first watched this cycle, I disliked Kenya quite a bit, largely because she was 19 years old and she was appearing on a reality TV show that edited her as the villain, and she was annoying and she didn't come off as likable. So
yeah, okay.
There's that totally biased reason why I did not like her.
Yeah, but it's what they present, right? Like that's the power that these people have.
Exactly. So Kenya had some great photos. However, given this season did not have a plus size contestant, she was, in my opinion, the scapegoat for this cycle. So midway through the cycle, her weight and weight gain became the focus of the cycle's storyline. So despite the fact that she was already
19 years old. Okay.
Yeah, she was already so thin and it was just such a non-issue already. And I'm not saying that fat shaming is okay. It isn't okay because she's thin. It's not okay to anybody. But to fat shame this already really small person, it's just
it's
cruel.
but it's also just super
it's
harmful to body.
Image.
To body ideals, etc. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So she wasn't even gaining that much. It was mainly bloating, I'm sure, because when we're stressed and away from home and traveling internationally, same girl, same.
And not eating properly. We also just all fucking bloat every single day, right? Hello, normal bodies.
It started coming through as this storyline of, Kenya is eating more and stress eating. And then the next thing you know.
Oh, no. Okay, yeah.
The next thing you know, there's a photo shoot that is themed with the 7 deadly sins. And she gets fucking gluttony. Now, this wasn't even the most egregious thing that happened on that photo shoot, if you can believe it, because, it's ANTM, so of course we can. It was the same photo shoot that forced Kaylin to pose at the bottom of a 6-foot grave the same week she found out that her friend died. Turn your grief into fierceness. Grief, but make a fashion. I'm making jokes because I'm so uncomfortable.
I am so uncomfortable.
So Kenya was giving gluttony. She was posing in this padded dress with this really bad
so now we have a in inverted commas fat suit.
Look, I'm not even going to say it was drag makeup because that's an insult to drag queens, but it was just fucking awful makeup, right? It made her look dumpy. It kind of made her look like Eddie Murphy in the movie Norbit, which is so problematic. Oh my Lord. There was all of this food around her with bacon fat and all of this a donut hanging out of her mouth.
In what fucking world is that fashion?
Exactly. Meanwhile, all of the other contestants had envy or lust and they're just parading around in lingerie. Meanwhile, you have an eclair hanging out of your mouth. How is this hardly a level playing field, right? So then they got to South Africa and the storyline continued and they showed her editing. Again, editing, so the extra character.
Editing, eating.
The same bagel 4 times, implying that she'd eaten 4 or 5 bagels, interspersed with clips of other contestants commenting on her weight, how much she'd been eating. She's gained a lot of weight. Oh my God. And spliced together with literally probably every clip that she's seen of eating, none of which we saw of any of the other girls eating, by the way. So she was being portrayed as this out of control binger, spliced with clips. I just find great comfort in eating.
Lord, I cannot. Oh my God. Okay.
They were painting a picture, and this picture went on to say 1,000 friggin' words and an essay and PhD. Okay. So the first international shoot was in Cape Town, and they were asked to pose as different African animals, as one does in a realistic photo shoot. And then she was given.
Not problematic at all. Yeah.
She was given the elephant. Oh, but Ash, maybe the others were given the hippo or the warthog, right? No, wrong. Others get the cheetah, the giraffe, the ostrich, or the springbok. Nice, long, lean animals. But no, Kenya, you get the big fat elephant. It's like they were trying to cultivate an image. And Kenya would later on to go and say in the documentaries, at that point I realized that this was the edit that I was getting and this was being done on purpose.
I am so uncomfortable right now. Holy shit.
So Kenya then Tyra comes in and coincidentally talking all about body image and eating with all of the contestants. And then there's more shots of Kenya eating. And then like we never see the models eating really unless it is literally part of a storyline. They're constantly zooming in on her belly, which is obviously more bloated. Then she gets to panel and she's being berated for her size. Oh, you're gaining weight. You see this back and forth between Janice and Tyra talking about the size of Kenya and what it means for the modeling industry. I'm going to play a few clips just so you know what I'm talking about. Again, 45 seconds, skip ahead, trigger warning, diet talk, fat shaming, all of that.
This photo is really beautiful, Kenya, but I hate to say it. They had to do a lot of body work on you and retouching. For at home, pretty much I try to, eat right. And we come here, my towels, everything is thrown off. Stop! If you're sporting a gut, then you turn to the side and disguise it. Kenya, in the real world, you're a thin girl. But the fashion industry is so extreme, and I would love to change the rules, but until that happens, I think it's all about choices, Kenya. You can get a burger and take the bread off. I make it work when I have to. Thank you. Now, I can eat whatever the hell I want. I'll retouch it, because I paid my dues. You're new. Be honest with yourself and don't point the finger, because nobody will retouch a picture as much as we did this picture. When we look at you, we don't see a model. And as much as I hate and preach about models not having to be stick skinny, we have to face it that we are in the fashion industry. If you don't fit the clothes, you don't work. Congratulations. Thank you. You're gonna work on yourself, get it together, but healthy.
How is that changing the modeling industry? Or like when you need to restrict and you're telling people how to conform to these standards. It's like, oh, I got the same stomach, girl. You just got to work with what you got. No, she doesn't. You're telling her we had to do so much retouching on you so that you can't work with what you've got. We're berating you for requiring so much retouching.
But what I don't understand is, how is this a story? Like, where has this come in? Like, how is this?
Because they didn't have a plus size model for that cycle.
But how is that entertainment? Like, how is that? Like, I don't understand. And obviously the times we were in, but like, I just have, like, I literally have no words. Like, I just feel like I feel viscerally uncomfortable hearing all of that. Like, I feel like, oh, like that's even just beyond. What? Like, yeah, how? Like, how is that even entertainment though? Like, how is that?
And I'm gonna get into that in part 3, where we talk about why it was entertaining.
Okay.
I say that in terms of why this was used as entertainment and why we kept watching, because that was the nature of reality TV. It was car crash TV. You couldn't look away. And it was designed to be entertaining.
Like, again, to eating disorders though, right, as well, like, which obviously, but like, so we think about and we talk about binge eating disorder. Well, like, we already know that might be a controversial take. I don't think it is. It's everyone, I think maybe I've said it, I don't know. Ash, and you and I have spoken to about it before because it's a little high horse I like to get on. We reserve binge eating disorder diagnosis for fat people. And we overdiagnose it because of a body type. And most of the time, because binge eating disorder in its true diagnosis form doesn't involve restriction.
I know, when majority of people who I've talked to have an element of restriction which causes them to binge.
There's restriction. It's bulimia in a sense, because restriction is being seen as purging, because purging doesn't just look like one thing. It's a whole myriad of things. But and like, it's so upsetting, I think, like deeply, like that. I think that deeply, like that rocks me, because I feel like it's just like, we know it is, like in this just these days of trying to break down what an actual eating disorder is. And like, obviously we know this show has been so harmful towards that, but like, my heart is just like literally hurting, because I think of just the people that are diagnosed with binge eating disorder when they don't have binge eating disorder. And then there's this thing on TV that's contributed to this, that God forbid if you fucking eat, you're binge. And like, you hear it, Ash, like the amount of times you have a conversation with someone who's like, and then I just went and binge, and it's just like, well, what did you eat? Oh, you actually ate what your body needed. Like, there's the recovery part to a restrictive eating disorder where your body might eat more than, what you're used to. And we hear, oh, it's binging, it's not binging, it's your body surviving. Like, I just, like that, and because they perceived her to be in inverted commas fat somehow. And then you just
her body just changed.
Sorry, her body changed. God forbid her stomach was bloated and people, but like then my heart just for like fat folk is just like and we already know this, they had no chance. And anyway, it's so ingrained.
So I'm going to quickly wrap up Kenya's storyline, because unfortunately, if your heart did not hurt already, there's going to be more that before. And a trigger warning, I'm going to talk on sexual harassment very, very briefly here. As the cycle goes on, Kenya continues to do well, but in my opinion, that does not bode well for her storyline. And in reality TV land, she needs to be punished. So there is an extra part of Kenya's story that obviously doesn't involve eating, which involves alleged, I say that even though I literally saw it with my own eyes, aggravated sexual harassment on set, where she spoke up saying, hey, I'm uncomfortable because this guy is violating my boundaries. And she was reprimanded for it. She was like, well, you're unprofessional for stopping my shoot. Body shaming was not the only thing this poor girl endured. And there's so much that we could get into with Kenya and all of this, but I do not have the time right now. This is part one, guys, part one. She makes it to the final 3, and then she's cut at the last round, essentially for being too much and too fat. How lovely. So now, having said all of that, picture yourself in Kenya's shoes, watching this back at 19, 20 years old, along with the rest of the world. She would go on in the Netflix documentary to say about her edit, quote, to see this was going to be my entire narrative. It just felt unfair and just felt kind of dirty. Another quote was, it was a little bit damaging to see them editing me eating the same bagel, for example, showing me eating it as if I'd eaten 3 different bagels when it was really just the same one, but over and over again. End quote. I would say a little bit more than just a little bit damaging. And like, just to sort of, the impact of this edit, Kenya had people come up to her and say, I developed an eating disorder because of the edit that you got, which is so horrible to put on her, by the way.
And can I ask, do we know, and we probably don't know, but like, what did she go on to do after this?
I do know. So there is a happy story to the end of this.
Okay.
But she touches that it took her a long time to get used to eating in public again, and that she had a lot of public shame.
Yeah.
And it's also, she had to deal with how that edit of her impacted everyone else. And these people are coming up to her and saying, hey, because of you, I got an eating disorder, which isn't what they're trying to say, but it's kind of implying that, which is just so horrible to inflict that on Kenya. But she...
oh my Lord.
The poor thing. And I think the other thing of what I'm really, really frustrated at, which you very, very graciously covered for me already, why I'm frustrated is this is how eating disorders were portrayed. And it just perpetuates the stigma and the, it's just gross of how, and it's totally inaccurate as well.
Yeah.
And
the perpetuation
and also very
of that
ridiculing.
fat phobia, like if, this person who is thin, very, beauty standard ideal is being labeled that way, it just fucking breaks your heart again for actual fat folk who are trying to fucking exist in this world. Who we know, can't be out in public, at McDonald's eating fucking because they want to be, because the way people,
because people are awful.
Because people fucking suck, yeah.
After ANTM, now Kenya's doing great. She looks friggin' amazing. She did some modeling work, but now she actually works as a modeling coach, helping preparing young models for the industry and getting models signed to agencies. And she makes the point of, I'm doing what the coaching that I wish that I had and what I thought the show would give me.
I mean,
and she says, I love my girls. I think they're amazing. I empower them. I try to lift them up. I don't tear them down. And I do the best that I can to try and prepare the models the best way that I can.
Yeah, cool.
And I think I get chills thinking about it because all props to Kenya. I think she did so friggin' well.
Oh, fuck.
But not without her scars.
No.
And she gets very emotional in these documentaries. Of
course she does.
And she's not the only one to be impacted after the show.
Yeah.
But for more on that, you're going to have to stay tuned to next time, because that's where we're going to leave you for part 1. There is still so much to get into. In the next episode, we are going to cover how ANTM treated plus-size contestants, how they talked about and handled actual eating disorders, try and unpack the beast of Tyra Banks, and then later on, we're going to talk about the importance of informed consent and bodily autonomy on shows like this, and the broader impact on the show had on culture at scale. But I realize that this has been a lot. Go and hug something soft and fluffy. Go get yourself a snack because you deserve it. Go, I don't know, go outside, touch some grass.
Touch my favorite one lately, because I just feel like lately grass isn't enough. We need to go and find a waterfall to touch.
Yes, I apologize for inflicting all of this on you all. And I also apologize that this is like
I'm like
2
rocking back
hours
and
long.
forward. Have you seen me like move position? No, it's great. I'm locked in. But have you seen me just like move position on the couch like multiple times? I'm like, oh.
I feel, having done all of this research, I feel vindicated in a way, but also it's very much raise your hand if you've been personally victimized by Tyra Banks. That's me, and this is my revenge tour.
Yeah, but I think like you said though, like honestly, like we're talking about this in like this little vacuum that was America's Next Top Model, right? Like we're talking about it in a vacuum, but this vacuum very much exists online currently. It's just shifted a little bit and it looks a little bit different. And to be honest with you, I think it's just a little bit more sneaky now.
And it's also 24/7.
And it's 24/7. So like so fucking relevant. So like this shit is still happening. Like all of it is still happening. It's just, it's more sneaky and it's 24/7.
Yeah.
So it's relevant.
Isn't it fun
like,
here?
Oh, mate. Like
Scream if you want to go faster.
Oh, my Lord. Oh, my Lord.
Okay, so yeah, that's where we're leaving it. Part 2, I'm not going to say part 2 is going to be more chipper because it's actually probably going to be a bit worse. Apologies in advance. But part 3 will be lighter-ish.
I'm going to bring my panda with
I'm
me.
sorry. Yeah. I promise after this 3-parter, we're going to do something fun.
Oh, Lordy. No, it's great though. It's like I said, I just think it's so, like it is so important to talk about because of the, like it's still the climate we're in, except it's more sneaky. And so if we can talk about things that are going to help us pick the sneakiness of our today's world, like I think it's actually so important because it arms people with the weapons that they need to be protective against it. And that is just so important.
Agreed.
So I'm here for it. But I'm bringing my panda with me next time. Oh, Frankie's coming along for the ride.
You've been listening to The Recovery Feed, hosted by Ash Myberg and Callie Cote. You can find us on Instagram and YouTube at The Recovery Feed Pod or via email at therecoveryfeedpodcast@gmail.com. If you'd like to support the show, thank you so much. You can do that at Buy Me a Coffee. It helps fund the running of this podcast to make sure we can keep bringing you episodes like this one. Extra information and resources are always available on our website, therecoveryfeed.com. And if you're so inclined, you can leave us a 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice. This podcast was recorded on the lands of the Gadigal and Gubbi Gubbi people. This podcast is general in nature and has not taken your personal circumstances or medical history into account. We are here to share our own experiences and the things that we have found helpful throughout our own personal recovery journeys. Please remember that each person's journey and circumstances are different, and not all of the information contained in this podcast may be relatable to you. It's important you consult your own GP or recovery team to seek out tailored advice before making any important decisions relating to your own health and recovery process. If you have found any of the content in this episode distressing, please contact your care team or a medical professional. If you or someone you know is in crisis and needs help now, please contact emergency services in your region immediately.